And let's talk to Alex Salmond, leader of the Alba Party, former First Minister of Scotland, of course. We haven't spoken for a while. Alex, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Now, I'm expecting from you some kind of land grab this morning because front page of The Guardian, of all papers, has got the jaw-dropping find of a stone at Stonehenge, which apparently came from Scotland, not from Wales. So I'm imagining that you're going to try and claim it back.
Well, no, we want £5 billion, and that's without compound interest. That's £1 million a year. Right. For the last 5,000 years. It's so typical, Mike. You know, I just knew it. I mean, I know that for centuries it's thought that the Stonehenge stones were carted by druids from Wales. But actually, it turns out they were filched from the northeast of Scotland. The big one, the important one, the one that's half buried right in the middle, right, is actually a northeast of Scotland stone, which you've had, when I say you, it's a collective you, of course,
yes,
for 5,000 years. So you've stolen our oil, you've stolen our gas, you're after our wind-generated electricity, and you've had our stone. Neolithic England was grabbing Scotland's stone, and you owe us £5 billion minimum.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that will go as well as all the other things you've been trying to claim off us for the rest of your political career. But let's talk about the real world. The inflation rate has risen for the first time this year by 2.2%. I think we reported this yesterday. It's not going to be helped, presumably, by all these pay rises that are being given to public sector workers by the very generous new Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer.
Well, you know, I think, you know, it's early days for, you know, this dawning of new glorious Labour. But there are some warning signs knocking about. Now, to me at least, the thing you should really do about the economy, the things that the Tories didn't and wrecked people's finances was sky-high interest rates. You know, interest rates well over 5%. There's 17 rises or whatever it was. Andrew Bailey popping up saying interest rates are up again, despite the fact the inflation had absolutely nothing to do with internal domestic pressures that were affected by, you know, wrecking businesses, wrecking household finances, wrecking people's mortgages, wrecking people's chances of getting their own home. It was all to do with external pressures of world energy prices and so on and so forth. But they continue with that. You know, what? You remember Ted Heath?
Oh yes.
Yeah. Well,
he once wrote to me, Ted Heath, when I was a schoolboy.
Well, there you are. Well, it wasn't necessarily your cup of tea, Mike, as a politician, but he did make a speech once upon a time when he berated interest rates as being used like a one-club golfer.
Yes.
You know, the only thing the daft golfer could do was bang away at a ball with a club, and interest rates is a very hard medicine for the economy because it bears down and wrecks people's lives. And that's what the Bank of England's been doing. And they're still at it. I mean, Andrew Bailey, the governor of the Bank of England, that's the guy who doesn't have an economics degree, incidentally.
Right.
I mean, I just mentioned that.
And who once actually said, I can't do anything about inflation.
Yeah, well, also, I mean, you know, if you were nipping into the hospital to get your appendages seen to Mike, you'd expect the guy or woman operating on you to be qualified.
Yes.
So, reasonable expectation that the governor of the Bank of England should have an economics degree, but Andrew Bailey doesn't anyway. But this guy actually held a press conference last month to announce a 0.25% fall in interest rates, as if this was a magic thing. But interest rates are at least 2-3% higher than they should be. And the key, and why it's so important is this: if the Bank of England it's replaced Vladimir Putin as the main inflationary source in the UK economy. It's that pressure on mortgages and household finances that have been driving inflation in itself. If you get interest rates down to, say, half the level they are at the present moment, no indication that would cause you domestic heating problems, you know, overheating problems in the economy. It would save you 20 to 30 billion pounds in high finance payments to international finance, people that the government has borrowed money from and government borrowing. It would take the inflationary pressure out of the economy. It would improve the public finances, and then you wouldn't have to do daft things like, you know, swipe 10 million, you know, of winter payments away from old age pensioners.
Yeah.
Which is going to become a real big issue, even bigger than the Stonehenge non-underpass and stealing Scotland's stone, you know, come this winter. And so why the new Labour government isn't addressing the failings of monetary policy and doing something about the Monetary Policy Committee and getting a suitably qualified governor of the Bank of England, I've got no idea. But the road they're going down, I think is going to be tricky for them politically and dangerous for the economy.
Yeah, I think so. Because there can be no doubt that all the other public service unions are going to come in and want exactly what they've been giving out to the doctors and to the train drivers. You know, anywhere between 14 and 22%. That'll do nicely, thank you very much. And that's bound to have a knock-on effect into an inflationary spiral, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, let's look at it from the train drivers or the other public sector workers' point of view. I mean, if your mortgage payments have, let's say, doubled or trebled in the last wee while, then clearly, you're going to be extremely dissatisfied with the relatively paltry wage increases that you've been offered. If, of course, your mortgage payments were starting to come down and making a sizable impact on your household finances, then quite clearly you would say, well, that's not too bad. Inflation, as it's really felt on my household finances, not as it's shown up as 2.2%, but as it's felt in what I'm paying every month for my mortgage. But the things that actually matter to a household or people trying to get their own home, etc. Then people would have a different attitude. You're trying to drive inflation out of the economy, and interest rates being way over what they should be have actually been the main inflation driver for some time in the UK economy. It's not an overheating economy. The economic growth looks pretty satisfactory this morning, but I mean, that's after 10 years of being flat as a pancake. There's no internal inflationary pressure except what's been driven by the bank. I mean, it's kind of ironic that the Bank of England, the old lady, should be now, and has been for at least the last 2 years, the main driver of domestic inflationary pressures in the economy has been sky-high interest rates. No,
it's not a reputation that she would want, I would have thought. Let's talk finally, Alex, about a situation that you're involved in to some extent. A visit by, I think, was it the Deputy Ambassador to Israel with somebody from the Scottish Government. What was going on there?
Well, I mean, this is actually a story of some concern because, I mean, I know a bit of the background to this because lots of embassies at this time of year, principally because of the Edinburgh International Festival, the greatest arts festival in the world, something that people go to from the diplomatic corps just in case Mike Graham is staring in the eyes habit as he did last year, and things like that. But they trot up at the Edinburgh Festival. That apparently is what happened last week with the Deputy Israeli Ambassador, a lady called Miss Daniela Grudsky. And then she had this secret meeting. I say secret because it wasn't talked about for 4 days with the Scottish Government's constitutional and overseas secretary, Angus Robertson. Well, how shall I describe Angus Robertson? The Glaswegian term might be fud. That's somebody who is an overinflated idea of his own abilities.
Yes.
But actually accept a meeting with a deputy Israeli ambassador, and then was found out about because she put out a social media tweet and picture saying, gushing how lovely it was to be, sunny Scotland, etc. Right. The problem is obvious, that the Scottish Government have taken a strong stance, as they see it, rightly in my view, against Israeli policy in Gaza, the 30,000 folk, 2/3 of them women and children who died. The Israeli government, if you remember, Netanyahu and his defence minister are under investigation by the International Criminal Court, as indeed are the top leadership of Hamas.
Yeah, and those are Hamas figures, of course, as well.
Indeed, but let's just say that Angus Robertson decided to take a meeting with the assistant deputy to the representative of Hamas at a time like this. Now, the excuse was we were taking the opportunity to make representations about the war in Gaza. But look, if you're making serious representations, you make them direct to the Israeli government and make them public and say what you think. You don't arrange a meeting when the deputy ambassador from the London embassy just happens to be up for the Edinburgh Festival. So it's caused a great stir because it happened, but also think because of the secrecy and the disingenuous nonsense that the John Swinney, the new First Minister, has put out trying to defend it. It's caused a real stir. I think rightly so, I mean, Angus Robertson will never be second in an inflated idea of his own abilities, and maybe it's. Well, listen, I'll tell you what. If I was still First Minister, I'd just sack him.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been appointed in the first place, of course, but if he had been appointed, if he'd slept through, I would now sack him.
Well, let's see how that one turns out. Alex, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Alex Salmond, leader of the Alba Party up there in Scotland, with plenty to say about the inflationary problems that are going to encompass this particular government.